The following is an exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the National Football League. On this episode of the Panthers Huddle, the playoffs are back at Bank of America Stadium. Coach Dave Canales tells us how he celebrated winning the NFC South. Plus, step inside TD's film room, where the Panthers legend breaks down the Rams. Welcome inside the Panthers Huddle.
Welcome inside the Panthers Huddle. Kristin Balboni, the legend Thomas Davis, and TD. The Panthers are once again champions of the NFC South. You know a little something about that right there.
Little bit.
So talk to me about what this playoff, and not just the playoffs, but also what it means to win your division.
KB, it's huge to win your division and just be able to make it to the playoffs and host the playoff game. And it's kind of reminiscent of the 2014 season to me.
Okay.
When we won the division at 7-8-1, losing record, had the opportunity to host the playoff game. The Arizona Cardinals came in here and we took care of business. We handled our business. And that's what this team has an opportunity to do. They have an opportunity right here in front of their fan base to go out and handle business, KB, and I fully expect them to get the job done.
And it is so interesting because with that Cardinals game, it was very similar, as you said, not just the record of the Panthers coming in, but the belief that the Cardinals were going to come in and there was going to be no contest. And imagine as a player, you thrive off of that.
Listen, we loved the fact that nobody believed in us. Everybody counted us out. Everybody thought that the Cardinals was going to come in and handle business because of their record. But they didn't understand the magnitude of who they were getting ready to face. We were a very hot team at that point. We had strung off a series of wins that allowed us to be in that position, and we played together as a football team, and that was one of the things that made us special.
And now an advantage for this Panthers team is that they have already seen and beaten the Rams once before at home. Can you win in the same way that you won last time when you're facing a team for the second time?
It's going to be a lot harder, KB. You got to switch some things up. You got to make sure that you don't come out and you be much maligned with the same kind of look, because they're going to be prepared for that. They're going to be ready. They're going to make some adjustments and they're going to do some things differently, but so are we. We're going to go out. We're going to do some things differently, but, I hear that the rain may be a factor in this game, so hopefully we'll take advantage of our running game and, kind of punish the Rams a little bit.
Well, we saw that being a big factor in that last game. We know that the Rams are used to playing in beautiful conditions in SoFi Stadium. How big of a factor is something like that when, look, the Panthers, especially the last part of the season, are used to playing in some really bad weather?
KB, that's a huge component because especially when you look at a team like the Rams that love to sling the ball around the yard. And Matthew Stafford is a veteran quarterback. He's going to be probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I don't care who you are. If it's raining, it's going to be a lot harder to throw the football than it is inside of a dome or if it's not raining. So hopefully there's going to be something that's going to play into our favor because I feel like we have the much stronger running game. And I think across the board, D-line probably a little bit equal on that because, I'm a little biased, if you ask me, to my guys up front in the way that they played this year. But the Rams have a very good defensive line, KB, which we'll talk about later.
We certainly will. Now, you mentioned the weather potentially being an X factor for the Panthers, also the fans.
Yes,
you know what it is like to play in front of this home crowd. I get chills just thinking about what Bank of America Stadium is going to be like on Saturday.
It's going to be electric, and you know that it's going to be electric. And that's one of the things that you, as a player, understood. But being on this side of it, getting to witness and watch our fan base come out and just ignite this entire stadium, listen, KB, I'm getting chills on my arm right now just thinking about it. And knowing that, we have some special things planned for our fan base to get them even more excited.
Little tease right there.
Might have made a phone call or two. So make sure y'all come out to this game. You do not want to miss this special guest that we're going to have at this game. Is going to be exciting.
TD might have had something to do with getting this special guest here.
That's
all.
A little bit,
That's all we'll say. I do want to ask you, though, about playoff experience. Certainly the Rams have a lot of veteran experience, a lot of playoff experience, Super Bowls. And then this Panthers team is a very young team. So how important is that, and how do you combat that if you're a young team like the Panthers?
We got to grow up fast. We got to grow up real fast. You know that this team has a ton of experience. But one of the things that we have to realize as a football team, you can't start slow. You got to come out the gates, out the blocks with on fire. You got to come out blazing, and you got to finish in an inferno. You got to make sure that you are absolutely on fire to start and finish this game, because if you start out slow, you just never know at which point in that game that it could be that one particular play that cost you that game. So you got to make sure that in the playoffs, it's a different level. It's a different element. And I used to always hear our veterans talk to us about that when I first came in, but I didn't fully understand until I actually got to play in the playoffs.
Start in a blaze, finish in an inferno. I love it. Well, one of the veterans on this team that'll help lead the way on Saturday is Tommy Tremble, and I had a chance to sit down with him. Check it out. All right, I have a question for you. I'm always so fascinated with the handshakes. What is you and Bryce? If you're listening on audio, I'll try to narrate it, but what is you and Bryce's handshake?
So ours is kind of like a 2 backhanded handshake, something quick, something simple, get through practice and doing all of it. So that's our handshake. And we got a whole routine with the tight ends that we do. It's too much to explain, but if any of us score, you'll see it.
Yes. Well, we hope we see a lot of that on Saturday. I've always wondered, though, like as an adult, who is approaching who about having a handshake?
I remember when I was a young player here, always the vets kind of came up and were like, hey, let's make a handshake, let's make a handshake. And I was not creative enough. I was just surviving, drinking through a fire hose when I first got here. And so now that I'm a vet and I'm kind of like the guy initiating, like, we all need a handshake, come on. And so then we figured it out beginning of the season, and it's our routine before practice, everything, we always do a handshake.
Coming up, Coach Dave Canales joins Kristin Balboni in the studio to preview our rematch with the Rams on the Panthers Huddle. This exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers Television Network is brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of the Carolina Panthers.
Welcome back to the Huddle, joined now by head coach Dave Canales. Coach, NFC South champions, congratulations.
Thank you.
Just take me through the emotions right after, you find out we have won this division.
Unbelievable. I was at home sitting on the couch with Lizzie and my kids and watching the game, watching every single play, the ebbs and flows of the game, especially at the end when it got really interesting and Tyler Shucks driving the Saints down there, the interception, the field goal to go up 9, and I can't help but take my brain into here's how they're going to try to get this done, all the way up until the onside kick, and then once it was like, are we good? No flags?
Yeah.
And then we just exploded, and we were out in front of the house, yelling and screaming in the neighborhood. A bunch of our neighbors are out there clapping, and it was just it was a really special moment for our crew.
That is incredible. I was going to ask you for your family. I know this has been such a family affair for you ever since Carson, right? That you've talked about. What was it like being able to experience that moment with your wife and kids?
Oh, it was incredible, and it's something that we dream about here for the Panthers, and for all of our fans, is to be able to put ourselves in a position to win that first championship first, the division. That always has to be about that every single year, winning the South, and to put ourselves in position over 17 games to win enough to be in that position, even though we didn't get it done in Tampa, but we were certainly there, and the guys have earned this. The guys have worked so hard for this, and we're excited to get back to work.
You have plenty of playoff experience in your career. This is a young team. So do you expect, as you prepare these guys this week, of course we know how the veterans will react, do you expect there to be some nerves with the guys that maybe haven't played in this environment, or the younger guys?
Based on our group, I expect it to be really fun. An excitement about our practices, an excitement about our meetings. That's what I've noticed as we've continued to grow as a team, building that confidence, building that identity of who we are. I've found that the team meetings are a little noisier. I've found that there's a lot more energy as we go out to practice, and this belief starts to happen, and that's really what I expect from our group.
As you look back on the last 2 games, the Seahawks and the Bucs, are there learning lessons that you'll be taking away from those 2 games and applying into kind of this fresh slate with the playoffs?
Absolutely, and just trying to make sure that we find the core of what we're doing and get back to really consistent football on the offensive side, to find our best football. That's always been our goal. We get another opportunity to do that. It's so exciting to be able to pursue our best one more week in Wild Card Weekend.
So you talked about some opportunities on offense. I want to ask you about the run game. We have seen what this run game looks like when it's firing on all cylinders. What does that look like now with two healthy backs between Chuba and Rico? What do you want to see from them on Saturday?
Yeah, just that consistent, violent attitude style of running that we've counted on for this whole time. And we have to broaden the picture. It's the whole group. It starts up front with the offensive line, the tight ends, receivers certainly on the second level. And then once the running backs get the ball, we're looking for those efficient runs. You get those 3s and 4s early on in the game. Later in the game, they turn into 6s and 9s and 20s, you know. And so with that, third down is so important. Because when you can convert, if you convert half of them, you're one of the best in the league. If you can be in the 40%, that's a pretty solid day, and that gives us another opportunity to continue drives, to wear the defense down a little bit and make sure that our run game can continue to grow. So it's a group effort. We got all hands on deck, and we're looking forward to taking another step forward. You
talked about third downs. In the last Rams game, huge plays on 3rd and 4th downs offensively, and then defensively, you stopped Matthew Stafford, 2 turnovers, which he had not done up until that point all season long. Can you do those things again, or do you expect the game to play out in a different way?
I expect Coach Shula to mix it up. I expect him to look for and find his opportunities to change coverage, to play a little bit more zone. A lot of those plays we made were versus man-to-man defense, and the more that our young skill group has continued to mature and win those one-on-one matchups and Bryce push the ball down the field, we're starting to see more zone defense. So that's where you have to be really dialed into the details, the depths of your route, anticipating throws in windows, and those types of things. And so I would expect to see some variety of that.
And Coach, we've talked about it almost every single home game, but how important is it for this team that this is a home playoff game?
Bank of America Stadium has been electric, especially down the stretch as we've built momentum, as we continue to put a great product on the field, and our fan base, everybody just growing together and bringing this thing so that it really truly is an advantage. I mean, I got to say, for the last 3 home games, offenses have had issues communicating. There have been delay of game because you can't get the personnel to call in correctly. There have been false starts because of the noise. It helps our pass rush. We're getting jumps off the snap because the O-line's starting the same time the D-line starts when you're in a non-verbal cadence. And so all those things are critical, and it's all of us. It's the entire Panthers community coming together to try to help us win.
Well, and you've also mentioned that you want the fans to let the refs know if there's any questionable calls. I imagine that stands, especially after last week, that you want them to be loud in those situations?
Absolutely. Be aware of what's happening, and if you don't agree, let them hear it.
That sounds great. And Coach, over the past few years, everyone can tell just how present you are and how much you try to bring that into the locker room. And then also just as a coach, will you take a moment on Saturday just to appreciate that this game is a little bit different? How does that look for you?
Absolutely. Every game for me starts with gratitude. And I remember where I started and came from in Carson, California, all the way through El Camino College, junior college, community college football. I was at SC for a little bit, and all the years in Seattle. But every single game, when I come out in the locker room the last time to get ready for the game, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude of all of the things that had to happen for me to have this opportunity. And so I'm very grateful. I definitely will take a moment to see my family, to see some people walk up and down the sideline and just connect with fans, other coaches, people that I've known from the past, and then just go for it. And it always just grounds me.
Coach, congratulations on your first NFC South championship. And we cannot wait to see playoff football back at Bank of America Stadium. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Up next, step inside TD's film room, where Thomas Davis draws up a plan to slow down Matthew Stafford and the Rams on the Panthers Huddle.
Time for us to go to school right now. We are stepping inside TD's film room to take a look at the Rams on film. And TD, you always like to start out with a guy that we need to know where he is at all times. Yes. Unfortunately, the Rams have a lot of those guys.
They have a few of them, and it starts with Matthew Stafford. He's the head of that snake. You got to make sure that you know what Matthew Stafford is in tune to, how he's going over the course of the day, because he's a gunslinger, KB. He's the guy that He could throw an interception. He could come back and throw 5 touchdowns after that. So you got to make sure that you stay with your foot on the gas when you're playing against a guy like Matthew Stafford. But he has weapons, and those weapons are Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. They are guys that have gotten the job done since they came into the league. Yes. I ain't going to say for how long, but ever since they've been into the NFL. And we're going to show you just how they do it. And these are some of the red zone plays that they like to run. So if you look at this play right here, this is a box count design screen that they're running right now. So they motion, as you may have missed the motion, but the tight end motioned out and he came back. Now, what he's going to do, the tight end is going to lead up as a lead blocker in essence. This guy is going to also go and block. What that does, it just creates a cavern for Puka Nacua to run outside. So these defenders have to do a much better job, KB, of recognizing this play first and foremost, knowing that the Rams love to do this, recognizing this play, coming up, setting a very hard edge, and funneling everything back. So once Puka Nacua catch this ball, they got to see this formation, aggressively attack it, and force it back to the inside defenders as they come and try to make the tackles. You're going to see their safety come late on this play to try to make the tackle, but by the time he's able to get there, it's a little bit too late. So that's one of the things that you have to do as a defense to take this away, because if you allow them, if you're soft on the edge, they're going to win time and time again, as we see right here with Atlanta, soft on the edge, taking advantage of that defense. So you cannot allow them to do that to you as a defense. You got to be able to be aggressive and funnel that back in. But in being aggressive, you got to be aggressive and aware, because what teams also like to do, they'll fake that screen and run that tight end up the seam. So you got to make sure that you have your eyes on your luggage.
All right, film study right there. All right, let's talk about this Rams defense. You talked about them a little bit early, but we know that they are so stacked just across the board. So what are we honing in on?
It starts with this defensive line, and Jared versus on this side. And watch how they collapse the pocket. Just look at the bull rush that they're able to get on Arizona's quarterback and getting him to the ground. So we got to make sure that we're locked in, we're in tune. This is what their strength is. Our offensive line did a very great job in neutralizing these guys. Only giving up 2 sacks is huge to a group that usually averages about 4 or 5 sacks a game. So that's one of the ways that we were able to take advantage of the secondary.
Well, let's talk about that secondary. So you started out the show talking about the fact that the adjustments are going to have to be made. I sat down with Dave Canales, and he talked about the success that our team had in man against that secondary, and he said, so we expect them to play a lot more zone. Can you take us back to that first matchup and show us that success?
Absolutely. We're going to jump right into it. In particular, this play right here with T-Mac was able to go against Emmanuel Forbes, and it's on 4th down. So right now, if you look at this play, they're playing man-to-man, something that they've done all year, something that they love to do. And as we let this play out a little bit, this DB commits the cardinal sin. If you watch him right now, look at his eyes. His eyes are locked in on Bryce Young. And as a DB,
it's not what you want.
Listen, as a DB, you always hear this saying from offensive guys, and Cam says this all the time: if they're even, they're leaving. So if you have a guy that's even with you, 1, 2, even, and you have your eyes back on the quarterback and not your man, how are you going to know where he's going? You're not. And things like this usually ends up happening when you get your eyes back to the quarterback. You end up giving up a touchdown. And Emmanuel Forbes is a guy that has resurrected his career after leaving Washington. He's played well for them.
Yes.
But on this particular play, he had his eyes in the wrong place. And once you do that, you give up big plays. And that's something that has happened to this defense over the second half of that season. So like Coach Canales talked about, we don't expect them to come out and sit in man coverage and allow us to do things like that. So we have to have a plan for the zone defense that they're going to run and anticipate those things happening so that we don't end up being in a situation where we're holding on to the ball and allowing that D-line to get home.
All right, TD, we appreciate you educating us, as always, there, re-educating us on the Rams. All right, coming up, the spotlight is on the Panthers this Saturday. We're going to tell you what we are spotlighting in this game against the Rams coming up.
Closed captioning for the Panthers Television Network is provided by Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Associates, providing premier eye and ENT care to North and South Carolina.
We always like to end the show with our Coke Spotlight. There is plenty to spotlight, TD, but what specifically are you looking for?
KB, I'm jumping right into it with the running game. Chance of rain, we got to dominate in the running game. It starts up front in the trenches with the offensive line, and then our running backs, we know what they're capable of doing.
As you said a little bit earlier in the show, they were successful at that last time against the Rams. We want to see them do it again. I'm going to spotlight the fans. We've been talking about it for the last back half of the season. It is going to be loud. It is going to be proud. It is going to be a playoff atmosphere, and the fans deserve that. So, TD, I thought you could quickly give everybody a little bit of a TD pep talk.
KB, listen. We go into Bank of America Stadium, we see that it looked like Bank of America Stadium of old, and we know that the Panther fan base is excited about this game. I need you guys to bring the energy like you have these last few weeks. Bring the energy, bring the juice, and get loud. You guys are excited about this playoff game, but it's not just about hosting the game, it's about winning the game. So we need your help. We need you guys to come out, be loud, make it miserable for the Rams, and send them back to the West Coast with this big L. So make sure you lock in, make sure you tune in, and it's gonna be amazing. With you and the Panther Nation getting it done, we're gonna keep pounding, baby.
All right, thank you so much. And you heard the man. Keep pounding. We'll see you Saturday.
You've been watching the Panthers Huddle, a copyrighted presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL.